when Phil and I decided to go to India for 6 months, I began to think what would happen if anything occurred to us while we were halfway around the world and somebody really needed to take care of our belongings, our bank, our everything. And it coincided with my friend telling me her experience of her brother dying and everything being such a mess, and that she had discovered that you could buy online from Susie Orman is her name, a kit where you could do a trust, a will, power of attorney, and health care attorney, it's called. And she said it was inexpensive, it wasn't really complicated, and she only had to use a lawyer for one thing. So I investigated it and I bought it. And while it took me 3 years to really feel like I completely understood it, I now understand it, and was telling someone about it, and they said, oh my gosh, you and Robin Vogel have to get together and make a video of this, because there's so many of us in the community who need to deal with these kind of details, and we're all kind of intimidated about it. So while I don't want this to sound like a commercial to Susie Orman, the truth of the matter is, I wouldn't know anything about this without having purchased this kit. And I looked it up fresh on the internet, since I bought it like 3 years ago. And it's even cheaper. I paid $150 for it, and now it's $100. And I thought I'd have Robin focus in on this page of the internet so people can see it. And she'll let me know when it's done. Okay, so I just want to say if this is a real thing. All you have to do is Google Susie spelled with a Z, S-U-Z-E, as you saw on there, and just Financial Security Now system, $100. So I thought about how much detail I wanted to go into this to give people a sense of how it works. So the really biggest part of the whole system is creating what's called a revocable trust, which means you can change it anytime your circumstances change. And which is really good. You know, like each year I go in there and I've changed certain things. Either we don't own that anymore, or the person who said they would do that or they wanted that has changed. So revocable means you can change it. It also means you can completely destroy it. You can like cancel it at any time. What it involves is you have a trust and you give it a name. Like ours is simply the Phil Smith and Deborah Smith Revocable Trust. Simple. You can call it anything you want. And the only thing that we had to have a lawyer do is to deed our condo into the trust. So now the condo is owned by the trust. Since we are the trust, we're the trustees of our trust, Of course, it still belongs to us, but legally on paper, it belongs to this trust. The great thing about that is that when we die, it's automatically given to whomever we have named in the trust as the new owners, who we have named, of course. Our bank accounts no longer just have Deborah Smith and Phil Smith on them. They are now in the trust. So we're the trustees, we're the signers of the bank account, but the bank account is in the trust, like our checks actually say. Deborah Smith, Phil Smith, Revocable Trust. I suppose the more that you own and the more complicated your life is, you have more things to put into the trust. We don't own that much, and we don't have any children. We don't own anything really valuable beyond our condo. That's the bottom line of it. So those were the two things that we put in our trust that took the most effort, in the sense of dealing with the bank and getting a lawyer to deed. They create a new deed, essentially what it is. So I don't know how much that would cost, and I don't remember how much that it cost to deed it in there. Probably not much. So in this kit from Susie Orman, she calls it the 4 must-have documents. One is the revocable trust, which I just spoke about. The next one is a will. And in a will, you say what tangible gifts you have and who you want to give them to. And cars can go in that category. They're not valuable or considered that big of an item that they actually are something like a condo. They're just tangible items. So in your will you state, I want to give my car to the Maher Spiritual Center, or to an individual, or you want it sold and the proceeds to go somewhere. Really simple. The Aunt Susie's diamond ring I want to give to my daughter, or something like that, that type of a thing. And you handwrite a letter to do that, so that it's in your writing and somebody can't alter it like a typed page. That's the most complicated thing in the will that there was. You name a healthcare person, and then you have a letter sent to your doctor. Your doctor knows. All of these things are step by step through this really simple program that's online that you do with Susie Orman. All these details. Very simple. And you also have a power of attorney, and that means that if you're incapacitated, that person can sign your checks and make decisions for you that you can't make. If you're a single person, this is incredibly important. If you're a married person, hopefully the two of you don't end up in that state at the same time. But again, you need someone to do this for you. One of the things that was really interesting to me is that in the trust, so Phil and I are the trustees. If one of us dies, the other still remains the trustee. If both of us dies, you have to name someone who's the successor trustee. And then that person can make all the decisions about what happens to your belongings, in the sense that they carry out all the instructions that you've put in the trust. For example, who did you deed your home to? Who did you name as someone who's going to receive sums of money? Do you want your body cremated or buried? Those type of questions are in the trust, and then you're going to expect the person who's your successor, trustee, will carry out all those instructions. So you can get as detailed as you want. I actually typed up a whole long list of directions that aren't part and parcel in the trust. They're more a part of the will, but they don't even need to go into the will. Minute things like all the Baba books go to so-and-so, and all the Baba pictures go to so-and-so, things like that. It's according to how detailed you want to get. I wanted it so that literally, if the plane crashes and we're both dead, this person got clarity, and they don't have to sweat the small stuff, you know. One of the things that often comes up is, well, who's going to do this? Who's going to want to do this? And it often falls, of course, to people's children. Well, we didn't have any children, and so we thought a long time about it and decided who we would like to do that. And within the trust, we provided money as payment to the person for doing it, because it's a very generous thing for someone to agree to do that for you. And so we made provision for that. It's part of what we had in mind to make it happen. I guess I would also say it's a great thing to simplify your life more and more, to get rid of stuff, so that when you do die, there's less stuff that somebody has to take care of and dispose of or dole out or whatever. And as you're simplifying, it's a convenient time to think, what would I want to do with this in the end, you know? And you can actually start asking people or organizations, etc., like, is this something of value to you that you would use, you would like, etc.? And then you can start building that into your trust and into your will. And when I was telling a friend of mine in California that I had done this, she said, it's a spiritual practice, that the Buddhists say that you should really keep your death in front of you. And there are some practices where every day they think about the fact that they're going to die. And so to really arrange all your belongings and know what's going to happen and get it all lined up is a spiritual practice. And I really have to say, it was a very freeing feeling when we went to the bank and got those final papers notarized, that it was really done. Amazing sense of freedom came over me, that we had all our ducks in a line. And that, who knows, we may have $50 left in the end. I mean, it's all up to Baba, but that I knew that I wasn't leaving a mess for somebody else to have to take care of. And if you don't have something legal set up, and I don't know what the laws are in South Carolina, what you leave behind belongs to the state. Now, I personally didn't want anything to be left to the state, for sure. And so to know where everything is going and what it's going to be done with, in the end, feels really good. Do I want to say, like, I'll help you if you need help? Not really, but I would on a group level, not on an individual level. We could have something at the Circle Center and we could talk about this more in detail. But I just wanted to get this out and see if there's actually any interest to it. Since I've done it for a few years and I've kind of ironed out the kind of vague things that at first I didn't get. And I've marked those salient points. So just a little gift that somebody said, well, our community really needed this. So here it is. And something I also might say is that it's online. You know, you have an account, you log in, and so you just go back and forth and back and forth, and you can, you know, add things and take things away, and you focused in on the product and stuff. I mean, like, I got a nice little silver plastic case. Now I think from the picture, it's cardboard. With a handle.
That comes, the kit comes in that?
Yeah. And the cool thing that I like about it, it's funny, but this is what I like about it. It has this accordion file so you have your credit and debit, your personal documents, your car stuff, bank accounts, Social Security. So when we die and this person that we've made our successor trustee has to go and do everything they need to do, they know that everything about our Social Security is in here. Our numbers, our accounts, whatever. Our bank accounts, everything they need to know is right here. Our car titles are right here. So now, instead of in my office, in my filing cabinet, everything that's really important is right here. So, you know, you got a hurricane, you know what I mean? No matter what's gonna happen, I can grab this ridiculous silver box and everything that's important, my car insurance, my house insurance, everything, even the deed for my condo, tax records. I got a CD of like 5 years of tax records. It's like everything's in here. So when I say it's easy, it is actually easy, but it's a lot of details. You know, I had to get all these papers, put them in the right place, make copies of certain things, etc. But it's all right here. So not only is it ready for when we die, it's also ready for me. And like, in case some people are interested, like, there's the revocable trust. Right there, it's a copy. Everything's in here and it says who's who and what's what. And, you know, so there's one for the will, and I guess I never called it the right name, Advanced Directive and Durable Power of Attorney for Healthcare. There's one for me, there's one for Phil. Our will, our power of attorneys, you know what I mean? Everything is just right here. So there's no guesswork. you know, and I would say the first year I did this, it didn't look as good as this. And I'm real glad that nothing happened. Not that I didn't think the person we had chosen could handle it, but not a fun game. So anyway, it's one of the end games we have to play, and you can choose to do it in this kind of way, or you can hire attorneys, and most of us don't have a whole lot of money to do that. So this is an inexpensive way to do it. Jai Baba.